Hey there, fam. My MRA, my real African um, Africanist. I'm still getting used to this space, so you have to bear with me. I am Maria Juve, the real Africanist, and this is my fourth YouTube video, and actually my third day on YouTube. I launched my YouTube channel on February the 1st to commemorate Black History Month 2023, and also to launch what I call the 28-day Can't Ban Black Challenge. The reason why I launched the Can't Ban Black Challenge was in response to the efforts to ban Black studies here in America. Right? The governor, his name is DeSantis, and he's over the state of Florida, and he actually passed legislation to ban African American studies. And that's something that we in America have been dealing with for a long time. And the more research I do, I realize that it goes further back than I thought. Actually, right after the end of slavery, or enslavement, like we like to call it, in 1865, during this period called Reconstruction, where there were African systems and schools set up to educate former enslaved Africans. There was an effort on the part of African people to include their stories in school curriculums. But at the same time, there was a pushback, right, by those in charge, the American government, and those that were in charge of the school systems to disregard the African story and, of course, leave the African narrative out of U.S. history. And we've been fighting this battle ever since, and we continue to fight today, and we have to continue the fight because we not only owe it to ourselves and our children, those that are coming behind us, but we also owe it to our ancestors who fought and died for us to have the freedoms that we have today, and that are not here to speak for themselves and tell their side of the story for themselves. So I want to welcome you all back to my channel, and I hope to bring some value here. What I do is I'm an educator, and I'm a historian by trade. I'm a blogger, and I call myself an Africanist, the real Africanist. And the reason why I use real Africanist because in education, at educational institutions, specifically educational institutions of higher learning, the people that teach African studies are referred to as Africanists. And a lot of these people, they're European, but they're also people of African descent and other ethnic groups. But some of them, they don't know what they're talking about, to be for real. Or even if they do, I won't just disregard the time that they have spent studying African history, but I will say that they continue to regurgitate the same bias, false, and sometimes just fabricated histories, right? And the histories are normally, the African stories, the narratives are always normally told from a European perspective, not from the perspective of African people. So that's what I do. I take these narratives and I tell them from the from the perspective of African people. And so that's why I call myself the real Africanist. But there are three things that is really important to me, and which I believe is my purpose here. And it not only here in this space, but in life in general. And that's to uh, research, teach, and share the African story. That's to disrupt, and what I call dismantle means just tear down these the control that Western perspectives and ideologies have over the African narrative, because there really is a what can I say? There is a level of control, right? That these European narratives have. They are the prominent uh, narratives and resources that most people go to to learn about Africa. And in doing that, that is one of the primary reasons that these stories continue, the false narratives, the biased narratives continue to be repeated and repeated over and over, even by black people, even by us, right? So that's one thing that I really, really go deep on. I go hard on, because that's something that I really want scholars, educators, and students to understand. You may think that you are actually getting the truth, or that you have done your due diligence or research, but actually the sources that you're using are the same sources that have been used over time to, again, suppress the African story, or to tell the African story from a European perspective. Okay. And then number three, which is near and dear to my heart, and that is I use history and culture and conversations around current affairs about Africa and the African diaspora to bring us close together, to reconcile those two the two histories and the two cultures. Well, of course, there's more than two cultures, but I think you get the gist of what I'm saying, to bring us together around our common experiences in history, but also in real time, right? And so you can find me doing that on my blog at the realafricanist.com. And also, I'm on Facebook under Maria Joof, and that's MARIEYAJOUF. And also, you can find me tweeting at real_Africanist. And I really need you all to head over to Twitter. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to grow, but it seems like I'm not reaching a lot of people. So if you're on Twitter, just go over and, retweet for me, okay? Help me take my message across these social media platforms. And when you're done watching the video, like I say, hopefully I've added some value or given you something to think about. Please like, share, and subscribe on this video as well. And also, I would like to say, before I get started, if there's something that you don't agree with, if you feel like the facts, they don't line up, please feel free to leave that in the comments. I don't know everything. Again, I am a historian. I do have a lot of hands-on and personal experiences, but things are, time is always evolving. Things are always changing. There are millions and millions and millions, gazillions of sources. I don't live on the continent, so a lot of people that live on the continent, you probably know more. I mean, you know more about some subjects than me. So please feel free to correct me. I think that's what we're here for. We're here for discourse. We're not here to grandstand and act like we know everything, right? I have a friend, and then I'll get to the topic. I have a friend who's from the Congo, and he says that that's a big problem that we as African Americans think we know everything about African history and about African affairs, even when African people that are from these countries that we're talking about are trying to tell us something or tell us that we are in error or we don't have it right, that we just insist that we have it right. And I believe that, right? Because I'm guilty of that sometimes too, right? But that's not because I just think I have it right. It might be because I think I have it right. But anyway, I agree with that 100%. And so we have to learn to listen to each other without, getting an attitude or getting upset about it, because it's knowledge, right? And nobody has the cap on knowledge. Okay, so I got all of that out the way. So today's topic is about the necessity of African studies, right? And how I believe that African studies raises or adds to the self-esteem and the self-awareness of Black people, right? And it gives you a better understanding of who you are, and with a better understanding of who you are, you have a more of a reassurance of what you can accomplish in this world. Basically, if you think you come from nothing, a lot of times you believe that, and so you feel like you can't accomplish anything. And that's something that I really, really want the young people to understand. So if you have children, especially teenagers who don't know much about African history or African studies or African diaspora history and studies, I think it's important, and I really would like you to pass the stories on, even your own history. I know I'm guilty of that. A lot of times we go through life and we don't even know the history about the people that surround us. I mean, I found so much information out about my grandfather and the things that he did when they were living down south. Some very important things that he did as Black people fought, like you say, for liberation and rebuilt their families and their communities and their houses of worship. And so by understanding my grandfather now, I understand why I love teaching, why I love learning, So again, I think that is very, very, very important, right? Okay, so last time I told you I was going to tell you about the first time that I found out that Egypt was in Africa. And I know that sounds funny now, right? But it wasn't funny to me. And back then, we just didn't know these things because African studies was not really taught in school, and much in school anyway. Even when we were, even at the time when I learned that Egypt was in Africa, we weren't being taught about Africa. We were being taught about Egypt. And we were being taught about the pyramids, which is, I think, something safe for educators to talk about, right? So I remember my teacher telling me, and pointing to the blackboard, the teacher with the long pole, right? And so she pulled down the map, and we rarely even looked at the map, so we didn't know much about geography and all that either, except Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, just the basics, right? And America and the 50 states and that kind of stuff. But she pulled down this map, and so she pointed there, and you can see this story too. You can read the story, because I don't want to go through it all, but you can read the story on my blog. Again, it's at therealafricanist.com. So she pointed there, and she said, like, class, this is where the pyramids and the Sphinx is located, right? And so most of the students, we were in the 9th grade, and most of them, they weren't really paying much attention. They weren't concerned anyway. But for me, I've always, loved Black history. I always been that person, that black for whatever reason. But when she said that, it just blew my mind. I almost fell to the floor, right? I was like, what? I just could not believe that. Here I am, 14 years old in the 9th grade, and just discovering that Egypt was in Africa. And the reason why I had discovered it, the reason why I was so amazed is because they always taught us as if Egypt and Africa were two separate entities, right? And more so that Egypt was the continent and Africa was just a big old country, right? With nothing in it, a bunch of people, poor, no food. And we should thank God that the white folks came over there and saved us and brought us over here to America, right? To civilize us and raise us up, right? And with no resistance, right? With no resistance. So that was the story. And so I just couldn't get that out of my mind for the rest of the day. And ever since that day, I took it upon myself to get really, really serious about African history and studies, and knowing myself, and knowing, the history behind people of African descent. And I tell you, I have learned so much. Things that you would never even think of. And also, I have to say, although I had a good upbringing, and I've always felt pretty proud of myself, of my community. I grew up at a time when African American communities were really strong. We had fine examples of Black progress in our communities, Black businesses, a lot of things. I grew up right at the time before we lost all of that, right? So I'm in the generation before we lost a lot of that. We still had a lot of African values. We still had family values. Everybody in the neighborhood knew each other. Everybody in the neighborhood helped each other. It wasn't this foolishness that we see today. There's still remnants of that, don't get me wrong, in the community. But for the most part, the larger society values, us adopting these larger society values, have really torn our communities apart, and has actually, I believe, hurt us as far as community and socialization is concerned. We might have more materialism and more opportunities, right? But as a whole, we lost what was most important to people of African descent, of Black people, and that's family, and that's togetherness, and that's unity. So the reason why I believe we're always talking about Black unity is because we understand what we lost. We know that it takes for us to be united. We understand the importance of being together, right? And so I think that's why it's having such a devastating impact on us by being apart, right? By being separated by all these different divisions that were deliberately created, but now we actually feed them ourselves. But I said all that to say, learning everything that I have learned has made me the person, the woman that I am today. You know, made me proud of who I am. You know, it helped me understand a lot of those divisions. It helped me understand that I'm not just an American citizen, that I am a global citizen. You know, it made me proud that I am a descendant of the people that gave civilization to the world, that gave the arts to the world, that gave culture to the world, right? And also, it just straightens your back up. Like my grandmother used to say, straighten your back up. It straightens your back up, right? And it gives you something to be proud of. I remember people would ask me all the time because, you know, over the years, my dress has evolved, right? I didn't always dress like a conscious queen, right? I had my young days too, and my what we used to call them Daisy Dukes, but short shorts. Young people call them, I think, booty shorts. Excuse me, but I had my days, so I'm not gonna front, right? But you know, as I got older, it helped me evolve into you know, the history and the understanding helped me evolve into the lady, into the queen that I am. So I just wanted to share that with you, and also just to emphasize the importance of African and African diaspora relationships, and to try to quell some of the you know, the foolishness that we hear out here about us not liking each other. You know, again, I mentioned that in the last video. I think it's just all about us not knowing each other and getting to know each other better. And when I talk about that, I mean on a collective scale. Of course, you're going to have individual experiences where, you know, people don't get along. I mean, that's life, you know, and like I say, that's a fallacy to believe that everybody black is going to get along, right? But I do believe that there's power in that, you know, and I think I know that there's progress in that, right? And so that's what I do. That's what I'm here to do. You know, that's what I like to use my skills and my expertise to do. And like I say, that's to tell the African story. That's to dismantle European influence over our story and over our relationships, because they also have influence over our relationships as well. Remember the No More movement in Ethiopia just not that long ago. I'll talk about that at a later date as well. And also, you know, to bring us together as the beautiful people that we are. So don't forget, again, the Can't Ban Black hashtag movement that's going on. I want you to flood your social media sites with all of the information that you can find. I mean, that represents the Black presence in the world, and specifically in America, right? Tell your children about it. Have conversations about it. Integrate Black history into your everyday talks, you know, with your children. That'll give you something to talk about. Believe it or not, you know, sometimes it seems like our kids are kind of lost out here because of the social media and, you know, all of these outside influences. But believe it or not, our kids, they really do want to know about their history. They want to know about their culture. You know, they are really interested in that. A lot of times they don't do well in school because they're not interested in that bull crap that they're teaching in school. And even with the things that they need to know, like technology and math and science, you know, they still need to know that there are blacks that are not only represented in those fields, but many blacks actually were the forerunners in those fields. I was reading not too long ago about this one guy with Google. Like he was um, like the first person to do something with Google, but I think it has to do with the algorithms or something like that, with the internet as well, right? So this is the thing. These are the things that the children need to know about. Again, you can find me on Twitter at real_Africanist. You can find me on Facebook at Maria Juve, Marie, second name Ya, which was given to me in Ghana as a girl child born on a Thursday. And the last name is Juve. That's Jouf. And again, that's a derivative of my former last name, which is a Senegalese name, right? Proud to have those names, right? And Marie is my actual middle birth name, right? So Maria Juve is my African name. And you can find me again at the realafricanist.com on my blog. I'm always there blogging, sharing pictures of my trips to Africa, curating other curating videos and content by other content creators, and just getting the knowledge out there. It's a growing site, but I'm really proud of it, and I think you all will like it, and I think you will get something out of it, right? And also come back here tomorrow. I'll be right back with more on. I'm going to talk. I think tomorrow I'm going to talk about Black resistance, right? Because here where I live in my hometown, that is the theme for our Black History Month celebration 2023. It's Black resistance, right? So I would like to talk about Black figures and events that were part of the Black liberation struggle on both sides of the waters, right? Or all sides of the water. So whether that was in Africa, the Caribbeans, or in America, right? And also, if somebody knows a little bit more about the liberation struggles in Brazil or on the South American continent, I would love to know some information about that. So you can leave a link in the comments below, or you can just tell me a little bit about it, right? That would be good to know, and would be something good to share with the audience. So I'll see you next time. Remember the Can't Ban Black challenge. And also remember, when you share your photos and your information, to use that hashtag Can't Ban Black. Use the hashtag African History is Black History. Use the hashtag Breaking the Ban, Africa for Real, the Real Africanist, and fight the power. Always fight the power, right? So again, like, share, comment, and signing off. Peace, and see you next time.